G'day guys, in this episode of How to Shoot Video for Your Business, we're talking about how to hide cuts. So if you're doing a talking head like this, how do you stop it being boring? If that's of interest, then roll the bumper. G'day guys, my name is Bruce Garrett. I'm the owner of GingerBeARD Media. We're a video production company based in Perth, Western Australia, and we run a series of educational tools called How to Shoot Video for Your Business. As the title suggests, it's about learning how to shoot video for your business. We're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, we're a podcast, we're all those sort of things. So if that's something that's of interest to you, then follow along. Subscribe, like, comment, and all those social rigmaroles, and we'll hopefully give you some free advice as to how best to shoot video for your business. Okay, enough of that waffle and on with the episode. In this episode, I've got 3 ways to hide cuts, because when you're doing talking heads like this and you're going for a long time or even a short time, it can get a bit boring for your viewer if you've got nothing to kind of break up the footage. The other thing is that you will mess up and you need a way to hide that. So let's roll on with my 3 ways to hide cuts. So my first way to hide a cut is to use overlay footage, and this is the most obvious and most commonly used one. Now you can use any footage to overlay over the top of your talking head to hide that cut, but in all honesty, the usual route to go is to use a piece of footage which is relevant to what you're talking about. So for example, we talk about video production here on this channel a lot, and so if I was talking about how something went behind the scenes working with a client, perhaps we're talking about the way that we shot something on a shoot that we do with clients, then we're probably going to overlay suitable footage, we're going to overlay relevant footage of us working with clients. Similarly, if you're talking about a product, then it's a really good opportunity to show the feature that you're actually talking about. Tip number 2 is the punch in and punch out. And these are really great to use if you don't have that overlay footage. You either don't have it, it's not possible to get, or you just don't have the time. Using a punch in or punch out in your edits is a really great way to jazz up these boring talking head productions. And in fact, it can look like you've got multiple cameras. And in case you haven't noticed, that's how we shoot our videos for this particular video series, but also in our commercial work too. Now, just a quick tip about how to make these more successful when you go to shoot and edit them, and that is to shoot in higher resolution. So typically we shoot these in 4K, and what that means is when we zoom in, when we punch in, when we're pulling the image closer, we're actually stretching the pixels, and what that means is that we're not losing image quality. If you take a 480 image, like old school video, and stretch that as you punch in and punch out, it's gonna look terrible. Our third and final tip is around MORPH cut. Now, if you're in Adobe Premiere, it's known as MORPH cut. If you're in Final Cut Pro, it's known as like a flow transition or something like that. Sorry, Apple people, not super familiar with your product, but basically what you do is you butt 2 clips up together, and then the computer analyzes it to work out the best way to kind of merge them. In all honesty, MORPH cut and flow transition are a little hit and miss, and so it's sometimes quite temperamental and will work for some projects and not for others. We've used it in our commercial work, typically when we've shot more emotional interviews and we want to make sure that we're not cutting away from people because we want to see that emotion. Sometimes the best way to get this working is actually if you shrink the transition, so make the transition between the 2 clips as small as possible, and that seems to work better rather than stretching it out for longer. My final thought here is around whether you actually need to consider your cuts. And what I mean by that is I think sometimes we overthink these things. We spend a lot of time being like, well, I can't put that video out because I need this overlay, or you know, perhaps we've cut so much to try and bring things together that we've just got this mess of a project. And so often I think people need to consider a little bit more about whether they actually need to hide the cut, or whether it's more a case of the content and the value of the message that you're providing, whether it's got a cut or not won't matter. Just get something out there. And that is all of it. That is my 3 ways to hide cuts, even if you don't need to hide a cut. As ever, I hope you've enjoyed this episode of How to Shoot Video for Your Business. If you have, then please do the usual social things like, comment, subscribe, and yada, 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 and all that stuff. And I will see you in the next video. GingerBeARD Media. Get on, beard.